Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, continuing to take a look at the next week's slate, heading back out to the Pac-12 as Utah heads on the road to play Arizona. And we got to change the narrative in the tone of what we're speaking about this Arizona team. And the narrative 4 weeks ago was this is a feisty team, it's a fun team, it's a cool story. You take a look at this Arizona team. This is a legitimate good football team, a contender in the Pac-12, and you take a look at the body of work for this Arizona team. Let's start with their losses. They went on the road to Starkville, Mississippi, and lost in overtime to a Mississippi State team that they outgained 3-1. Probably should have won that game 9 times out of 10. They lost by 2 to USC, and they lost by a touchdown to Washington. You take a look at this Arizona team, that is adds wins against Oregon State. This is an Arizona team that is not just feisty, it's a great team. Really excited to get into this one. 2 programs and 2 head coaches I have a ton of respect for. Kyle Whittingham and the injuries that they've endured for Utah and continuing to win and compete in these games. Ton of credit to both of these programs, to both of these coaches. Really excited to get into this one. Before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys. The support you guys have shown the boys for these game breakdowns truly does mean a lot. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And more importantly, would love to hear from you guys. Picks, predictions in the comment section. And let's get into this one. And I want to start with this Utah offense going up against an Arizona defense. And you ask, why do I start with this side of the ball? This Arizona defense, last year, if you would have asked me how I think this game plays out, even with Utah being banged up at the quarterback position, pretty much being a very one-dimensional offense, I'd say Utah's going to go on the road to Arizona and run all over this Arizona front seven. And that's probably how it would have played out last year. You look at what Jedd Fisch has done with this defense over the transfer portal cycle. I mean, a masterclass job. This Arizona team, not only allowing only 22.9 points per game, you take a look at what they've done against the run, only allowing 3.4 yards per carry. That's 21st in the country. Jedd Fisch did a phenomenal job flipping this team. You watched this Arizona team last year, and you say, yeah, it's evident that they're not competitive along the lines of scrimmage, especially in that front seven. You watch the film this year, it's a completely different team. And they grabbed Bill Norton from Georgia, Taylor Upshaw from Michigan / Colorado, Jacob Manu's playing like one of the best linebackers in the entire country, a complete 180 in personnel, and it's paid off in meaningful ways on the defensive side of the ball. And you look at Utah and what they're going to want to do. They're going to want to run the football. And they run the football 60% of the time. That's 10th most in the country. Now, this Utah offense, it's clear they're hamstrung, right? They lose Cam Rising, and they just don't have the quarterback and wide receivers to have that explosive passing attack. Now, they had a phenomenal first half against Washington. How consistent can that passing attack be? That's probably the question. And they're going to want to run the ball against Arizona, but I think Arizona has a decent chance at holding their own in the front seven. That would be a wild thing to say 2 years ago, that Arizona holds their own against the Utah Utes along the line of scrimmage. Credit to Jedd Fisch and what he's done with this defense. That's going to be a really intriguing matchup to keep an eye on. Now, you flip sides of the football, Coach Scally, Coach Whittingham. This is one of the most well-coached defenses that you see across the country. And that's really nothing new. But again, what's so impressive is they continue to lose all Pac-12, all American caliber guys on the defensive side of the ball and still have such a quality defense. And I can't, many Utah fans who've listened, like, you guys know how much I respect Coach Whittingham and this program and what they do. And when they continue to lose top caliber players and just recycle them and play as hard as they've been the last couple of weeks, I mean, it just speaks to the culture that Coach Whittingham has put in place. You look against the run, only 3.1 yards per carry. That's 14th in the country, only a 55% completion percentage to opposing offenses. That's 13th. Now, the one thing that Coach Whittingham and Utah is going to want to clean up is giving up that big play. That's what hurt them against Washington. It's what has hurt them a couple times this year. But on aggregate, you're looking at probably the best defense in the Pac-12 and one of the best defenses in the country. And they're going up against an Arizona offense that the reason I love this Arizona offense so much is this year they're much more two-dimensional. Like, you knew they're going to have an explosive passing attack. And Noah Fafita coming in for Jaden Delore, just taking over the job. The best word to describe him is a gamer, right? 3-star coming out of California. Nobody really wanted him in the Pac-12. Jed Fish goes and gets him. And this dude just comes up with play after play, makes things happen. He's accurate with the football. He's in complete command of this offense. And it doesn't hurt that he's throwing to some of the best wide receivers in the Pac-12. Jacob Cowing, one of the most electric players. And then T-Mac, who I think legitimately might be the best wide receiver in the Pac-12. Elite weapons around him. But want to know what's most special? Again, going back to Jed Fish and how this team has turned around so quickly, they can run the football. I mean, they're running Jonah Coleman, 7.2 yards per carry, absolutely put on a clinic against Colorado. Stiff arms, hurdles. This is a running back, runs the ball hard, has the long speed to hit the big play, one of the better running backs in the conference. And because they're so two-dimensional, I think that's what makes this Arizona offense so dangerous. I mean, last year they could throw the ball and sling the rock around. They had some talented wide receivers, Dorian Singer being one of them, added to that list last year, but they didn't really have that two-dimensionality and the ability to run the football. This year they do. A matchup that I'm certainly looking forward to, two NFL caliber tackles for Arizona going up against one of the best edge rushers in the country, Jonah Ellis. That's a matchup to take a look at. Jonah Ellis at times this year has been a game wrecker for opposing offenses. Can you control Jonah Ellis in the pass rush? Massive question mark. Getting to the pick here, and again, you asked me to make this pick heading into the year. I would say Utah heads on the road and just even with a backup quarterback in Bryson Barnes, just runs the football and kind of bullies Arizona off the field, controls the time possession, a classic Utah Utes road victory. I look at it this year and say, I think Arizona can compete along the line of scrimmage. And you ask me what offense I trust more right now, probably trusting Noah Fifita in this explosive offensive attack more than Bryson Barnes in the Utah Utes. And this has nothing to do with what I think about this Utah team. And I think next year, if they get some of these guys back, this is going to be one of the more special teams in the country for the Utah Utes. But right now, picking this Saturday, based on what Arizona has done the last couple weeks, I'm going to ride with Arizona at home. They've been elite at home, taking care of Oregon State. Give me the Arizona Wildcats to win this one at home. And I think this is going to finally, I mean, that game against Oregon State, I think a lot of people on the East Coast were asleep for. This one's going to wake up the country to how good this Arizona Wildcats team is. Two of my favorite teams in the Pac-12 going to battle. Really excited for this one. If you guys do enjoy the content, again, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate all the support you guys have shown the boys, and we'll talk to y'all later.